So case study 1 is about assessing the use of models and data sets to evaluate the performance of catchments. We've chosen the Conway catchment in North Wales as this is a very interesting catchment and subject to all sorts of land use pressures, climate change and environmental change. As part of the case study, we're evaluating scenarios combined with the use of process-based models such that we can actually predict what might happen under a range of future behaviours. So, as part of case study 1, we've undertaken quite a detailed modelling study trying to understand the drivers for the Conway catchment in terms of nutrient fluxes, that's nitrogen and phosphorus, and other variables such as sediments and pathogens moving down the catchments into the estuarine system. The reason for doing this is so that we can actually assess impacts of change on water quality in the river systems, and most importantly assess impacts of pathogens on the river and also perhaps down into the estuarine system, where there are very sensitive shellfish beds which provide a major source of income for the local communities. A key component of the work is assessing how environmental change can influence the system, and therefore we've used other models such as the farm scoper model and the Lucy model to actually predict how upstream changes are driving the system. So for example, Lucy can look at different ways of transferring nutrients off the land surface in great detail and how they move into the upper reaches of the catchments. And Farm Scoper can say something about activities on farms, how farm management might affect runoff from farms, which will also eventually enter the upland river system. A key component of the project really is to assess impacts of changing scenarios. So for example, we've taken the duress scenarios which have been developed across Wales to look at impacts of land use change. Should you manage the catchment in a more sustainable manner? Should you consider rewilding the catchment to look at how the natural environment impacts the river system and the estuary downstream? There's also issues of climate change, so we've made use of the UK Met Office climate scenarios for the area and use those to drive the model to actually understand how changing flows and water quality will affect the downstream behaviour. One of the other aspects of the project is assessing impacts of change on ecosystem services. So for example, could you enhance the catchment to store carbon in the soils? Could you look at habitat connectivity and enhance that? Could you look at other factors such as improved fisheries within the catchment, or impacts of land use change on ecosystem services? One of the very interesting things about catchment systems is that they do respond to management changes. So for example, improved farm management leads to lower nutrient levels. Climate change, surprisingly, will actually enhance the river system because it's thought that the winters will be wetter and that this increased water can flush materials out of the system. But because of the increased dilution, will actually reduce pathogens and nutrients within the river system. So that's one of the side benefits of climate change, perhaps, that we didn't anticipate. The other advantage is that there's a definite possibility to actually improve the catchment response with land use change. So a better management system for the land would actually enhance the catchment system and would improve ecosystem services.